Okay, hello and welcome to the CPL season recap for season 7. This is my third time recording this because my audio is messed up, but hopefully it goes well this time. So, the inaugural season of the CPL was a ton of fun. We had a lot of success, and today we're going to recap the best performers of the last several months. All right, so this season we saw 7 teams in the CPL with 88 rostered gods over a dozen patches. 88 gods qualifying for ranked placement. Today we're going to go over some season stats with advanced metrics. We're going to get into our position rankings for all 5 positions. We're going to have a little award show at the end. And then just a reminder for you guys, you can check out our website at Smite CPL Blogspot. Me and Griffin have put a lot of good stuff on there for the entire season. And hopefully some of the stuff from here is going to get put on the website as well, so you guys can review it over again. But if not, I'm going over everything here, so you guys have access to this whenever. All right, so we'll start with support. And then how these stats are going to work is I'm going to start with some preliminary stats and advanced metrics, and then we're going to go into 2 of the most major stats that we use for placement. And then again, we had 88 gods that qualified for placement. If a god that you were looking for doesn't appear here, it's probably because they didn't have enough qualifying matches. Because this spans the entire season, there's a pretty hefty qualifier to get in here. Also, I tried my best to separate them into their positions. So if you have a god that played 2 positions, but they only show up in 1, that probably means that they only played that 1 position enough games. The other games, they did not. So we'll get right back to the support here. So support, obviously, the main tank, the peel, protecting the team, tanking, damage. So we're prioritizing mitigations, assists, and occasionally healing. And we had 15 qualifying support players across all 7 teams. This is actually the only category where all 7 teams have qualifying participants. So we'll do some preliminary stats first. So on the left there, you see our tank rating. This is literally just pure mitigations per game. I'll announce the top 5 for these preliminaries, and then when we get to the bigger ones, I'll do top 10. But top 5 here: Cerberus from Rambo Hoagie, Geb from Rocky Dog 26, Fafnir from Rambo Hoagie, Sobek from Kuz, and Capri from Rocky Dog 26 are your 5 tankiest supports. Our support aggression rating, or SAR, on the right is a measure of damage, kills, and assists for a support. Basically, their kill participation as well as their damage numbers. This is basically a measure of how aggressive a support is and how often they're more diving than peeling. So, number 1, we've got Kuzenbo from ASP. Number 2, Cthulhu from Kuz. Number 3, Ganesh from Kuz. Number 4, Cerberus from Rambo Hoagie. And number 5, Hell from Cedarborg 1. Alright, so now we'll get into our first big ranking for the supports. This is our support productivity rating, or SPR. This is a measure of the statistical output a support player produces in a single life. So basically, it kind of measures efficiency as well. It's in from spawn point to death, how much output do they produce. In our top 10 here, you can see the graph on the left. Oh, also, all of the qualifying gods will be on the graph on the left. So even though I'm announcing the top 10 on the right, you can still see any of your gods. If they maybe missed top 10, you can see them on the left. But our top 10 for support productivity rating: Cthulhu from Kuz, Athena from ASP, Hell from Cedarborg 1, Amaterasu from Piff, Artio from Piff, Ganesh from Kuz, Kuzenbo from ASP, Cerberus from Rambo Hoagie, Sobek from Kuz, and finally Geb from Rocky Dog 26. Those are your top 10 productive supports. And that's going to move us into our support value rating, or SVR. This is the make stat. This is the overall, basically complete metric of the value a support player will add to an average team. It's essentially how much a player will be worth despite the players around them. And this is the most pure ranking we can get. So our top 10 for support value rating is Cerberus by Rambo Hoagie, Cthulhu from Kuz, Artio from Piff, Geb from Rocky Dog 26, Sobek from Kuz. Those are your top 5. At 6, we've got Fafnir from Rambo Hoagie, Kuzenbo from ASP, Ganesh from Kuz, Athena from ASP, and Capri from Rocky Dog 26. So those are your top 10 supports in the game, and that's going to lead us to our little podium here. Our top supports: Cerberus is your number 1 support in the game, Cthulhu from Kuz is your 2nd support, and Artio from Piff is your 3rd support. These are the top 3 supports in the game. Cerberus is number 1 among them. So congrats to Cerberus. Alright, for carry. Carry is prioritizing damage, efficiency, and farming with a late game focus. So essentially, how much damage do they output and on what efficiency and farming. So obviously carries, very late game focused. They're essentially farming to full build and then just trying to rampage through teams. Very focused on structure damage, getting kills late, and staying efficient up until that point. We've got 16 qualifying gods from 6 teams for the carry position. And here are some preliminary stats. We'll start with DPSO, DPS output. This, I mean, you guys know what DPS is. This is a pure damage output per second. Our top 5 here is Chernobog from Pith, Artemis from ASP, Heim from Pith, Danzaburo from Truasian, and Jingwei from Pith. That middle stat there, the lethality measure, LM, I'll explain this one a little bit more. This is the percent chance that a given encounter with an enemy god ends with a kill for the carry. So by encounter, I mean when the carry meets another god and the encounter ends with either a kill for either side. So either the hunter gets the kill, the hunter gets killed, or the hunter assists on the kill by an allied god. And this lethality measure is the percent chance that a given encounter will end with that player getting the kill. Essentially how deadly they are in an engagement. So number 1, we've got Medusa from ASP. Number 2, Artemis from ASP. Number 3, Danzaburo from Siedeborg 1. Number 4, Jingwei from Pith. And number 5, Danzaburo from Truasian. Double Danzaburo shows up a couple times here, so hopefully those nerfs hit kind of hard because he's kind of hard to play against. On the very right there, we've got our farming index. This is almost the opposite of lethality measure if you think about it, but they're measured completely different ways. Farming index is the ability to maintain a stable income throughout the course of a match, and this one more so focuses on early to mid game, essentially how well they can stay farming, get gold to get their items online, and then roll in the late game. So this is more focused on like minion damage and making sure that you have solid farming income. So if you're dying a lot, obviously you're going to miss out on some income. So this is really focused on how much gold you can make off of, just staying alive, staying laning, having a presence. So number 1, we've got Danzaburo from Siedeborg 1. Number 2, Chernobog from Pith. Number 3, Danzaburo again, but this one from Truasian. Artemis from ASP, and Chiron from Siedeborg 1. And that's going to lead us into our first major stat, Late Game Presence, or LGP. This measures the ability for a player to manufacture damage, kills, and structure destruction in the later stages of the game. So this is kind of the culmination of everything a carry should be, right? It's the late game when you're at full or almost full build, how well you can roll kills, damage, assists, how many structures you can destroy, just kind of in the back half of the game. So basically how dangerous you are once you're at full build. The top 10 here, we've got Artemis from ASP, Chernobog from Pith, Scotty from Pith, Jingwei from Pith, Heimdall from Pith, Medusa from ASP, Chiron from Siedeborg 1, Danzaburo from Truasian, Hachiman from Pith, and Danzaburo from Siedeborg 1. And of course, that's going to lead us to our carry value rating. Again, this is kind of our all-encompassing stat for seeing the complete metric of the value a carry player adds to an average team. So essentially, how much is that carry worth? And this is your main statistic for seeing, I guess, a power rankings for your carries. Our top 10 here is Artemis from ASP, Chernobog from Pith, Medusa from ASP, Jingwei from Pith, Heimdall from Pith, Chiron from Siedeborg 1, Danzaburo from Siedeborg 1, Scotty from Pith, Danzaburo from Truasian, and Huyi from ASP. And of course, all of the qualifying gods are listed at the left there. If you miss top 10, you can kind of see where you're at. And of course, because we have the carry value rating now, we can look at our top carry. At number 1, we've got Artemis. Number 2, we've got Chernobog. And number 3, we've got Medusa. So those are our top carries. Artemis is your best carry of the season, Chernobog at 2, and Medusa at 3. Okay, moving into the jungle. Jungle obviously prioritizes kills, damage, and I put time in here because as with the jungler, you're essentially trying to farm as quick as you can, get kills, and just kind of stay with the rest of the game because obviously all the other lanes kind of have minions at certain time increments, so they don't really have to worry about that. But for the jungler, really having productivity throughout the entire game is very important. So most of the measures here are actually in per minute stats, just to kind of measure like how productive they can stay in each minute of the game. We've got 20 qualifying gods here from 5 teams. And this is pretty interesting because 20 qualifying gods, that's the second most amount of gods in any given position. But 5 teams is actually the least amount of teams in a single category. So it's a pretty bloated category with very few, not very few, but the fewest number of teams. So some preliminary stats for our jungle. We've got KPM, kills per minute. Pretty self-explanatory. Kills manufactured per minute. We've got Thanatos from ASP, Bakasura from ASP, Arachne from ASP, Daji from ASP, and Aoquang from True Wasian. DPSO, this is the same type of statistic we saw with carries. Pure damage output per second. Number 1, we've got Pele from Pif, Tsukiyomi from True Wasian, Bakasura from ASP, Thanatos from ASP, and Arachne from ASP. And on the far right there, we've got our survivability rating. Obviously, junglers tend to lose out on a lot of farm if they die. So this is the ability to stay alive over extended period of time. Also is a useful statistic to see in the late game how well junglers can survive team fights, because junglers tend to be the most frail of all of the different positions. So this is kind of a stat to see how often they can stay alive in farming, as well as how often they can stay alive in team fights. Kind of a culmination of the two. So number 1, we've got Bakasura from ASP. Number 2, Nike from ASP. Number 3, Nemesis from ASP. Number 4, Dashi from ASP. And number 5, Arachne from ASP. Those are your most survivable gods. That's going to leave us to our first main statistic, jungle productivity rating. This is a little similar that from what you see before. These are the assassins with the highest damage output, the highest kills, assists, and gold that they can do in any given minute. It's how productive they can stay throughout the course of the game without falling off. And so we've got top 10 here. Thanatos from ASP, Bakasura from ASP, Arachne from ASP, Daji from ASP, and Pele from Pif are your top 5. Then at number 6, we've got Aoquang from True Wasian, Nike from ASP, Tsukiyomi from True Wasian, Ratatoskr from True Wasian, and rounding out is Set from ASP. Again, you can see all 20 of our qualifying gods there on the left if you missed out on top 10. And you guys should be pretty used to this now. Now we've got the jungle value rating. This is the best value gods that put out the highest rate of productivity at the best efficiency. Just a measure of player worth on an average team comp. Basically how much they can sway the course of a game by their output, efficiency, all of their stats culminated. So we've got our top 10 here is Bakasura from ASP, Thanatos from ASP, Arachne from ASP, Nike from ASP, Daji from ASP. Then at 6, we've got Tsukiyomi from True Wasian, Aoquang from True Wasian, Pele from Pif, Ratatoskr from True Wasian, and Set from ASP. So this is essentially your power rankings for the jungle, which leads us to our top jungle. Number 1 is Bakasura from ASP. Number 2 is Thanatos from ASP. And number 3 is Arachne from ASP. So congrats to the top 10 in the jungle. Now we'll move on to mid. So obviously in the mid lane, the 3 things that we're prioritizing here are damage, KDA, and utility. The mage tends to be the most damaging of all the archetypes in the game. They're in the mid lane, which has a very high amount of traffic, so kill participation and efficiency are important here. And then utility, some mages also add extra utility, whether it be mitigations as kind of a secondary tank, or healing, or anything like that to kind of help the team in other ways besides just pure damage. 22 gods qualified for mid, which is the most of any category. 6 teams participated in the mid lane. So our preliminary stats for this one, on the left we've got our mid survivability score, or MSS. This is the ability to stay alive over extended periods of time. This not only is the culmination of deaths per minute, but also mitigations and survivability in team fights in the late game. So we've got our top 5 here. We've got Kukulkan from Cederborg 1, Discordia from Cederborg 1, the Morrigan from ASP, Ra from ASP, and Sol from ASP. The utility rating. This is a bit more of a niche stat. This is essentially the ability to contribute a wider variety of value to a team. Again, kind of what I was talking about before, whether it be healing, shared mitigations, other things like that. So a bit more of a niche occupied for the mid here. We've got Ra from ASP, Hel from Cederborg 1, Baron Samedi from Kuz, Baron Samedi again from Rocky Dog 26, and Hades from True Wasian. Alright, so that leads us to our first main stat, which is the mid output rate, or MOR. This is the rate at which a mid laner outputs damage, kills, assists, and all other forms of value. Kind of going back to utility, it has a weight here as well. So our top 10 for mid output rate are Hebo from Pith, Sol from ASP, Nuwa from Cedarborg 1, Hades from True Asian, Persephone from ASP, Discordia from Cedarborg 1, Scylla from ASP, Poseidon from Cedarborg 1, the Morgan from ASP, and Ra from ASP. Alright, so the mid-output rating was really just focused on pure output and statistical value without worrying about efficiency at all. So our mid-value rating is our best value gods that put out the highest rate of productivity at the best efficiency. Again, your top overall mid laners. So our top 10 here, we've got Nuwa from Cedarborg 1, Ra from ASP, Sol from ASP, Hades from True Asian, and Hebo from Pith. Those are your top 5. Then at 6, we've got Discordia from Cedarborg 1, Persephone from ASP, Scylla from ASP, Poseidon from Cedarborg 1, and Baron Samedi from Kuz. And of course, you can see all of our mid laners listed there to the right from top to bottom as a score from 0 to 6. So that leads us into our top mid conversation. Nuwa is your queen of the mid lane, followed by Ra and then Sol. So those are your top 3 mid laners. Nuwa is your number 1 mid laner in the CPL. Alright, so now we're going to move into solo. Solo values mitigations, kill participations, and efficiency. Obviously, if you die in the solo lane, you're going to miss out on minion waves and your tower goes down pretty fast. So we're valuing efficiency here. Kill participation, obviously mid lane operates as a second tank and a bit more of a diver than the support. So kill participation should be pretty high. And then, of course, mitigations as a secondary tank. We have 15 qualifying gods for this position from 6 different teams. Some preliminary stats here. We've got our KDA leaders. This is again another very simple one, just kill participation per death. Number 1, we've got Odin from Piv. Number 2, Ratatoskr from True Asian. Number 3, Achilles from ASP. Number 4, Hades from True Asian. And number 5, Odin from Kuz. And on the right, we've got our solo efficiency rating. This is total contributions on a per death basis. So kind of like KDA, but in terms of all stats. So this is Achilles from ASP number 1, Odin from Piff number 2, Osiris from Rocky Dog 26, number 3, number 4, Chalk from Rocky Dog, and number 5, Odin from Kuz. That's going to lead us into our first main stat for solo aggression. The solo aggression rating is the players with the highest damage output and kill participation. Again, this doesn't really factor into deaths and efficiency as much, just straight up how much do they output over the course of a game. Our top 10 here, we've got Hades from True Asian, Osiris from Rocky Dog 26, Achilles from ASP, Ratatoskr from True Asian, Mulan from True Asian, Mulan from Piff, Odin from Kuz, Chalk from Rocky Dog 26, Baron Samedi from Kuz at number 10. And again, all of our rankings are there on the left if you'd like to see. Okay, and that's going to lead us to another value rating. This is our solo value rating. Again, this is essentially the power ranking rating. Best value gods that put out the highest rate of productivity at the best efficiency. Our top 10 for the solo rankings are Osiris from Rocky Dog 26, Achilles from ASP, Chalk from Rocky Dog 26, Mulan from Piff, and Mulan from True Asian. Those are your top 5. Number 6, Hades from True Asian, Bologna from Rocky Dog 26, Odin from Piff, Odin from Kuz, and Sun Wukong from Rambo Hoagie. And that leads us to our top solo. Osiris is your number 1 solo laner in the CPL. I wish we were the SPL. Over Season 7, followed by Achilles, and then Chalk number 3. So congratulations to those 3. Alright, so that's going to conclude the first portion of this video. That was all of our stats and advanced metrics, as well as the power rankings for each individual position. Now we're going to move on to awards. This is going to be MVP, top teams, top duos. We've got it all. We'll be there in just a second.